Let's get onto the Twitter space. I started by engaging the young students on the historical basis out of which the 1992 Constitution was written. It's the historical basis that will determine whether it's outlived its usefulness or not, if the historical analysis are correct. And I submit these analyses for correction if there's anyone who feels that analysis are not correct. This is what I told the young people on the Twitter space about the historical basis of the Constitution.
It has become very clear to us that what is lacking in our democratic space is either as a reason of the abuse of the Constitution or the lack of clear expressions from the Constitution out of it. Is the role of accountability. How does the Constitution render accountability? Because one of the fundamental principles of governance for sustainability of a political system is to be sure that the people in power are accountable to the people who elect the people in power. So the electorate and the elected, where's the role of accountability? It is about accountability that some people felt that the British parliamentary system was much better to be adopted by an African country that doesn't have strong institutions than the American presidential system that rides on strong institutions. This is a fundamental argument. I belong to the side that, yes, indeed, we should have gone for the British parliamentary system, because we saw in the political history of Ghana that our first president, Kwame Nkrumah, was uncomfortable with the British parliamentary system because it was forever asking him to render accountability to the opposition. And he felt that because of the era of the day, when he needed to run Ghana and Africa in a certain space very quickly to achieve unity, he didn't need a political system that was drawing him back and asking him too many questions. He may have been right, judged by the environment and the situation of the time. But that helps us to understand that if we're looking for a political system that is providing accountability out of the laws itself, it has to be the British parliamentary system. We can go into the details of how it does that, but we can leave that for now. So if you come back to our 1992 Constitution, you have an executive president who almost has unfettered powers, except as the Constitution says, he's limited by the provisions of the Constitution itself. We have an executive president who towers over the executive. He also towers over the legislature, because it is his ministers that are running the legislature. He also towers over the judiciary because it is his appointees that are leading the judiciary. These are the cardinal principles that we have to look at. The executive president is also the chairman of the National Security Council, which may make sense because he's the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. But why does he also then appoint the Inspector General of Police, who is to look after civilian matters? So the president appoints Inspector General of Police and then also appoints all the service commanders. Then he appoints the judiciary. And so in the three arms of government, whereas you're looking at the three arms of government, that we would like to talk about a separation of powers in some of the articles in the Constitution, you will still find that the powers are not completely separated, because one individual office holder, i.e. the president of Ghana, by design of the Constitution, controls all three arms of government. That is what is worrying. It is worrying not because it's a bad thing, but it is worrying because the day you have a president in power who is minded towards dictatorship, that president will be able to institute a dictatorial government under the 1992 Constitution. It is in that regard that people think that the 1992 Constitution needs urgent amendment, so that we don't have a situation tomorrow where we elect a president who has dictatorial tendencies and is able to practice such dictatorship using the provisions of the 1992 Constitution. That is why those of us who want this, who argued this position, suggest that we should look at the Constitution. We should look at why it was made, when it was made, who it may have been made for, and what circumstance was it designed to satisfy. If you ask these questions, you will find that the Constitution was primarily designed to satisfy a dictator who was preparing to be a constitutional leader, in the person of Flight Lieutenant Rawlings, who was the military leader. Everybody in Ghana wanted constitutional rule. The PNDC had been divided as to whether they should set up a political party or not. We know about that history, or better, someone has written about it. But then the apparatchiks of J.J. Rawlings' philosophy were of the view that if J.J. Rawlings was very popular in Ghana at the time, he was the most popular politician in Ghana at the time, and that people wanted him to continue. That is a fact. Now, it was thought that if you don't design a constitution that satisfies JJ's powers as he was holding then, it might be difficult for him to accept to transition into a civilian ruler through political party activity. And because he was popular, you needed to consider his personal views about this transition. And that's what happened. That it was good it happened so that we can have a smooth transition.